Just go make things happen. Stop complaining about the circumstances, or your parents did this to you and you're traumatized, or, the boss just won't recognize you, or you hate this job, or traffic's bad, or all the negative things that we can come up with as to why the world is not moving the way we want it to. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is you have to fight for that. It's not given to you.
No.
You have to go fight for it. Every success story that I know has underneath the success is rejection, hard work hours, just a lot of grit.
Yeah. It's not this golden, shiny light coming down on these people.
Correct.
That's like what you think is their life, but it's really not like that.
Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast, where we believe the best financial advice should always be conflict-free. I'm your host, Casey Smith. Guiding you to financial freedom today is my co-host, Missie Beach.
Hey, Casey.
Hey, Missy. So we are super excited because today is episode 200. Cue the confetti, the balloons.
Woo!
We're really good. We shouldn't have gotten a cake for this.
Yeah, we always have cake. Where's our 200th podcast cake?
New people that come work here always complain about the weight gain because we try to celebrate things. So birthdays, we have cakes, and there's more of us now. So we have cakes for that. And then when Michaela is passing different steps of the CFP study, we have cake. People leaving, we have cake for most people.
You come, you have a cake.
The ones we're celebrating.
Yeah, you have like a baby, you have a cake.
That's
you
right.
get married, you have a cake.
Right.
So, yeah, it's not the freshman 15. It's the wiser 15 for sure.
But episode 200, man, thank you to so many people. We got started here with Dana Reed. She's a good friend of mine that was on our advisory board for a long time, came and helped us really jumpstart our marketing a few years ago. She asked me one day, well, what is the things you want to accomplish? That I've always wanted to have a podcast. And that was 200 episodes ago.
Wow.
That we started. And then Hadley came in shortly after that and has been instrumental in driving us forward and organizing the podcast, getting guests in. We've had multiple audio video people. We have Ken here, who is headed out to the real world. He's graduated KSU and looking for a real job. And so it's been a great 200 episodes, a lot of learning in the process, some audio quality issues, I think, at the very beginning. And then finally we just threw down some money and brought in the same microphones
fancy
as Joe
stuff.
Rogan has.
Really? Wow.
So yeah, it's been fun. So I think the purpose of the podcast has always been to educate, not sell. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. Is no one likes to be sold anything. People like to be educated. And that's our mission here in the podcast of A Wiser Retirement. If you have a free moment, you can help boost this podcast popularity, which is pretty popular already, actually, by going to Apple or Spotify and just leaving a positive review. And that really helps promote the podcast on both of those platforms. So thank you for doing that. Also remember that we have a YouTube channel also called A Wiser Retirement, where this podcast, hi YouTubers, where this podcast is recorded. So you can see the video version. The most viewed video of the year was the whiskey podcast.
What does that say about our viewers?
I guess we have a bunch of drunks as clients. Maybe that's what that means.
Fun people.
A lot of fun people.
Social people.
Social people, yes.
Unless you're drinking alone.
True. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you were trying to learn about whiskey because you want to gift it, but you don't want to gift something that is terrible.
You're right.
Right.
Quality.
So that was a good guide. It was fun to kind of go off script for one episode. But we also have hundreds of views of other podcasts as well on there. But we also have a lot of shorts. So just little 3-minute segments that myself and the staff here at Wiser put together. So if you make your way over to the YouTube channel, A Wiser Retirement, be sure to like and subscribe because that helps promote us on the YouTube platform as well. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, same to you.
So we still have our Christmas tree up. I figured we'd keep it up till July.
Oh, we're going to be those people?
Yes, right.
Heck, let's just leave it up all year.
We're going to leave it up all year. Maybe 24 will be worth celebrating all year long. Who knows?
Okay.
So yeah, we've got this goal setting podcast, and we did one of these last year, episode 142, how to set 2023 goals you can keep. And I don't necessarily want to just repeat a podcast episode, so I thought I'd maybe bring a little different angle to it after we get through some of the basics. But I really believe in goal setting. Goal setting is very important. I also have been known to say things to my children and to my friends of don't let things happen to you, make things happen. I don't know where I heard that, or maybe it's just a Caseyism. I have no idea. But I feel like that I've tried to live most of my life that way, where I'm never going to play the victim and I'm going to figure out how to make things happen. But you can't do that if you're not setting goals for yourself and encouraging those around you to do the same. So, what's the cliche? This time of year, people are trying to lose weight. The gyms are full, which is annoying because all these people show up that were never there, but they'll disappear by the end of February. So you just have to work through it.
Or just never go.
Or some of us just never go. Yeah. But people say, okay, this year is going to be different. I will say that New Year's has never really been that big a deal to me.
Just another day for you.
Yeah, it's just another day. I know everyone has these big New Year's parties, and the clock just changes. I don't know. Okay. Maybe we do have goals that we set here at the company that are calendar based.
Right.
But I guess for me, I don't know. Back in my aviation days when I had to fly on holidays, I would sell my soul to have Christmas Day off because of the kids,
family.
But January 12/31, January 1, I didn't really care.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. And I love watching football, but I don't have to be home on the 1st to watch bowl games. Like, it's not that big a deal. Really.
No, because there'll be more football.
Right. Exactly.
We know that.
Right. So anyway, the point is that, I think a lot of people see that you get through that 12/31 and say, okay, I'm gonna do something different this year. And if that's how you think, that's fine. I think that's probably pretty normal for most people. So, but let's talk about setting goals. The reason why you set goals is so you can achieve something.
Exactly. And that's what we tell every wiser client.
Right.
Like, financial success is intentional.
Right.
And how can you be intentional if you don't know what you're doing? Or there's no plan.
Right.
There's no goal.
Right. So a lot of times financial goals are set, but a lot of times it's not. Yeah. I would say for a lot of the clients that come through at least my review meetings, I'm not saying, hey, you guys need to do X, Y, Z with your money this year, except spend it.
Yes.
Because so many of our retirees aren't living their best lives. Now, if you're doing everything that you want to do, then that's fine. But otherwise, what are you going to do with all these resources?
I know. Exactly. They think that
he who dies with the most wins. Yeah. I mean,
they're comfortable doing the right things, and
well, they were good savers.
Yes,
they were always good savers, and now they didn't set the retirement goals properly, or they're scared of the world, or there's something going on, right?
But that's why I think the planning process is so beneficial, so we can show them like those guardrails, and as long as you spend within these guardrails, you are fine.
Yeah,
go out, spend more, live your best life.
So a lot of different people listen to the podcast. So if you're in the retirement phase of your life, make sure that you are setting goals for this year to achieve things. It could be something related to grandkids. It could be something related to your own kids. A lot of times in successful businesses come on the backs of unhealthy families sometimes because you've strive to go achieve something. You've done well in business, but then maybe you haven't spent the quality time with the right people in your life over the last few years. This is a great opportunity to make up for that.
Yeah, that's a good
Right.
point. Yeah.
So maybe that's one of your goals
Relationships.
is relationship goals, not necessarily monetary goals.
That's a very good point. And to bring that to another step to link the two together is even a lot of our clients, I would say, like they've done such a good job with their planning and everything, but they haven't brought it down to the next generation who might be people, their kids might be in their 40s and 50s. And they still haven't had that great family conversation about where everything is, how it's going to pass.
Right.
So that can be a goal, to just have that general sense of awareness about where your assets are parked, how things are going to go, where the estate documents are. You don't have to get down to the nitty gritty numbers and tell your kids, this is how much I have in this account, and this is how much you and your brother are going to get. But just to have like a good family dialogue about it, to break down that generational barrier where I think I'm definitely in that generation where like my parents never talked about finances growing up. And a lot of people are in that same boat. And with our aging parents, you know, in their 70s and 80s, we're at that threshold where like, oh gosh, we don't know what's going on. We better figure that out.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great goal.
And while you're doing that, tell your story. How did the money get there?
Yeah.
You got to pass that on to the next generation.
You're right.
Right.
How did you work hard for that? How did you amass that? What were your tricks and how did you sacrifice?
If you have $10 million in the bank, there's most likely a story of how it got there if you started with zero. Or if you inherited $10 million and that's what's there, then how did they get the money? And that's how this is all passed down from generation to generation, and how a lot of times how you live up to that legacy.
Yes, that's a good point. Legacy. Even with generational wealth, someone worked really hard to start that business or whatever it was to generate that wealth.
Yeah.
And so you have to focus on that to teach your children, the next generation, that, you know, it's not easy.
Going back to telling a story and a narrative, I remember as a young adult, and I don't know how this came up in conversation, but my mom would always say things like, you were a perfect child. You were a perfect child. You're a great child.
Why does that not surprise me?
And so the part of it too is that even through college, you know, when you have opportunities to do things that aren't so perfect, I would just remember that my head was, no, I'm known as this perfect child, so I have to live up to these expectations, you know. But when we had our first child, he, you know, there's no 2-year-old, 3-year-old that's perfect, right? And so I was like, what's wrong with my child? I was a perfect child. Why isn't this a perfect child?
What happened to those genes?
She had to pull me aside and go, you weren't always a perfect child.
Oh, okay.
But it was telling the story that helped me live up to what these expectations are. You know, look, your grandfather was a great business person. Your father was a great person. And now you're going to be a great business person. And that, right. So that's how generations of people who own businesses a lot of times get passed down, is through the storytelling. We have episodes on that too. So I don't want to digress into the importance of telling your family legacy, because that's more of estate planning. But when it comes to setting your own goals, you know, you can always Google this. What are SMART goals? SMART, all caps. So let's dive into there real quick. It needs to be specific. So you're not going to say, I guess we have to just go down the weight track, right? Because everyone wants to lose weight, seems like. So we say, I want to lose weight in 2024. Okay, that is not a specific goal.
No, I'm going to be healthy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. What does that mean exactly? Very specific. So you would set a goal that says, I am going to lose 10 pounds. More specifically, you would say, I am going to lose, I'm going to weigh 190 pounds at the end of the year. I'm at 200 now.
Yes.
Right. So I'm at 200 pounds. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Then we'll weigh 190. But it's very specific.
Which year?
Right. Which year? This year.
Okay.
And those weights are random. So anyway, so what that does is it allows you to have a a very specific goal that you're focused on. And then what I want you to do is take that goal and put it somewhere where you see it on a daily basis.
Yes, that's the key.
Our company goals sit
face.
on a board in front of my office. And in the off chance that I glance up going, okay, what should I work on next? I'll look up there and I see those goals. And if those goals are lagging, then my mind automatically goes to, okay, what is it that I need to do to be able to do that? I can't remember his name, but the Chicken Soup for the Soul author.
Oh, yeah.
He's written like 50 books. That's something crazy. But he taped to the ceiling of his room that he was going to make $100,000 in 1 year. And at the time, he'd never made more than 8,000 his books. Yes. Oh. So he was looking up there, and every morning he'd wake up and he'd see 100,000. And I think within the next year, he had made like 98,000 or something like that. And then his wife said to him, well, why don't you tape $1 million up there?
Ooh.
And now he makes, well, obviously well over $1 million selling the books. It's like 50 million copies or something crazy.
Wow.
But it all started with visualizing that goal and seeing that goal. Yeah. Other successful people have storyboards. So they're writing down what it is that they see themselves in the future looking like. Okay. And this is a dork alert, by the way, but I went to college. I went more dressed up than the other kids because I wanted to be a certain thing.
Dress the part. Yeah.
I wanted to dress the part. When Wiser was a teeny tiny company, I didn't want to take a group picture of our team with 2 people. So I pulled in our closest partners, our CPA and our attorney.
Smart. Yeah.
And maybe 1 or 2 other partners we had at the time, but they were in the group photo.
Yes.
Because that's the image that I was looking for as a new upstart company. So it's setting that image of what is it you want to look like in the future. So maybe it's a picture of you in the past that you say, I want to go back to that. Or maybe it's just a number, or maybe it's the dollar amount that you want to make this year, or the relationships that you want to touch this year. You have to visualize that to be very specific about what your goal is. Next thing has to be measurable. So in our weight loss example, that's pretty simple. To measure a goal, you're going to stand on a scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Maybe you're going to learn Italian and you're going to listen to your, audio book or whatever it is for an hour every day.
Yep.
For however many weeks until you're fluent. But measure.
So again, when do you take that measurement and you track your progress and say, how am I doing? The school fundraisers are really good at that. You drive through carpool and they have the thermometer and say, this is where we are. This is where we are. Right. So you do the same thing. I tell young people who are struggling with debt when they sit in with me, I said, look, you guys have to get kind of silly about this, but I mean, you probably don't want your friends to say, hey, we got $80,000 in credit card debt on the refrigerator, but in your closet or wherever, someplace you're in every day, you build this thermometer, and every time you pay off something, you put an X and you make a big deal about it. But you have to measure your goal. Achievable. So that's the SMA. That's we're in the A. Achievable goals. So you could say we are going to grow Wiser Wealth Management by $1 billion in assets under management this year. That sounds like a great goal.
Oh, sure.
But that's probably not realistic without an acquisition.
Yeah,
and I have no acquisitions in my back pocket.
No.
So you have to make sure that they're achievable, attainable, and that you have the skills and resources needed to reach the goal.
Right.
If you weigh 1,000 pounds, is that possible? 800 pounds. If you weigh 800 pounds and you want to weigh 160 in the year, that's probably not achievable.
No.
Right? Medically, no. I don't think that's achievable.
No.
So yeah, you have to be realistic about your goals. I struggle with that because, we've set goals here at this company in the past where I feel like, it's kind of a chip shot. It's just an easy little shot. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we meet our goals. I'd rather set a goal that's a little out there. And if you're a little short of it, then you still had a pretty good year.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. You feel okay.
So maybe think about that in your goal setting, is maybe set something that is just on the other side. You have to really work
a little
to get it. But if you fall short, still okay.
Yeah. You don't want to lay up every time.
No. Relevant. So you want to align your goal with your overall objectives in your life.
Yeah. Not just what other people think you should do. You should want the goal.
Correct. Absolutely.
Are you curious why annuities keep coming up as a potential investment option? People are often told that annuities can effectively mitigate investment risks and help secure their financial future. However, annuities often benefit the salesperson and might not be the best choice for you as a consumer. To learn more about the various types of annuities, the negatives of owning them, and better investment alternatives, we have a free ebook on our website just for you. To download our ebook, Buyer Beware, Why Do They Keep Trying to Sell You That Annuity? Simply click the link in the episode notes or visit wiserinvestor.com/guides. Now let's get back to the episode.
And then time-based, that's the T.
Mhm.
So give yourself a deadline that does provide some sense of urgency. You can't say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
There's a
I'm
deadline.
going to do that.
So how you would write it out is you're going to lose 10 pounds by 12/31/2024.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a timeline. It's measurable, right?
Yeah.
And it's realistic. It's achievable. That's probably 10 pounds in 1 year is probably too easy of a goal, but you get my point.
Yeah. You might even break it up to smaller milestones along the way.
Which is a great transition to talk about that. So a couple of things that I guess we get a little more advanced goal setting. So I know last year we talked a lot about SMART in the last podcast about a year ago. But I want to talk to you a little about business goal setting or career goal setting. And there's really two books. The first one I'll talk about is the 4 Disciplines of Execution, the 4DX process. We'll link to this in our podcast show notes, so you can go directly to it. But in summary, this was the number 1 business seller in the Wall Street Journal. But it was basically you're going to set these widely important goals out into the future. The WIG. The WIG is the widely important goal.
The WIG.
So you're setting these big goals out into the future, and then you're basically going to have leading indicators and lagging indicators. So a leading indicator. So for us, we want to grow in the assets that we manage as a firm and the families that we serve. So a lagging indicator is how many families are we serving and what assets are we managing?
Right.
The leading indicator is the number of prospects that we have coming into our firm.
Looking ahead.
So the number of prospects that we have increases. We have a pretty good chance of increasing this lagging indicator.
Yep.
Where you just always looking back, how do you change those numbers? So you review these things on a weekly basis inside your team. So if you want to dive more into that, read the 4 Disciplines of Execution. It really changed how we set our goals as a company. Mm-hmm. And if you're a department head, for instance, you could execute this in your department. It doesn't have to be for the whole goal. In fact, they go into that. You have your company goals, but then you have your departmental goals that sit around the company goal, and how you measure those goals, and then you review them weekly. Now, that was a very good guideline for us. How I set company goals is I have a 10-year vision. So I know where I want to be in 10 years, ideally. And it's a crazy goal, big goal. And how we get back to reversing this is, where do I want to be in 3 years?
Yep.
Okay, that seems more obtainable. And then where do I need to do this next year to achieve the 3-year goal? Then what rocks? They call them rocks. I'm referencing now a book called Traction, which is part of the EOS book series. But Traction, in fact, I would have probably written a business book by now if I knew you could write a business book that referenced other business books.
Really? They all just reference.
That's all Traction does. I was like, man, I could have written this book because it references 4 Disciplines of Execution. But they call them rocks. These are the things that you have to be able to move in order to achieve your 1-year goal. And so for us, 2 years ago, I was like, man, we want to grow our firm by $80 million in assets under management. But for us, we had some limitations in our portfolio accounting software. So one of our rocks is we had to transition out of one system into another system, which is very, very difficult.
That's a big deal for a wealth management firm.
Absolutely. We had to change some other things that had to move. We had to get the right people on the bus.
Yeah.
That was another huge one, was like, man, I don't know if I have the right talent here to be able to execute those goals. We had to start making some changes. And in the end, we got those rocks moved. Now the rocks are more like, 3 months or so. And then inside that, you have your weekly, okay, what am I doing to move these rocks?
Mm-hmm.
So, the weekly stuff is, okay, we need to go and interview different portfolio accounting salespeople. And then we need to figure out which ones we want to demo. And then the next week we need to perform the demo and see how it works. And then eventually those we need to start doing the transition, and we need to negotiate the rate. And, all these things are the weekly things you have to do to move that rock out of the way.
So those are all the tasks that move rocks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, correct. And that's what would pop up in our weekly meetings. And for us now, it's really more of, okay, we're meeting with 10 prospects a week. We have 4 to 6 new plans that we execute every single week.
Yeah.
So for us, it's more about process and efficiency right now. So what is our capacity? How can we measure these different things to see what our capacity is? How do we find other people to get on the bus?
Exactly.
That aren't scared to work. Right?
And not lose the wiser personal touch
Absolutely.
that we've created, and make every family feel that same,
Correct.
personal level.
You can grow yourself out of business.
That's the worry. Yeah. So that's what we're always cognizant of.
So one of the things that I've been focusing on this last year has been, how do I get people on the bus that actually care about the people that are here, not their coworkers. I mean, that's important, but the clients.
Yeah. It's huge.
And for me, that wasn't that was a 1 week idea, but it's turned into maybe 2 years worth of trying to find the formula. I think we found the formula.
Yeah, you're right. 'Cause empathy is something that you can't teach someone.
Correct.
You either have it or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. You go through the interview process. There's some really good technicians that are good at financial planning, but they don't care about you. They care about the almighty dollar.
Yes.
And ultimately that's going to shine through when it comes down to doing the right thing versus doing something for the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some interview questions you have to ask to figure that out.
Yeah. Even on the fee only side, where everything we do is for the client, and the client's needs are always first, because at Wiser, obviously we don't sell anything.
Right.
So there's no danger of us ever doing anything that wouldn't be in the client's best interest. But I feel like there's personalities that could go either way. And you always want someone on your team and that's going to have that personal investment in you as a client. And I feel like that's the team that we've built at Wiser now. And everybody has your back, and everybody truly cares about you as a person.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been the focus or the goal, like you said, in building out the team.
And I will say this, the group, we have a mission. We're all here on a mission. But I think shortly after you started, I realized that, we may not have our own personal mission. A personal mission should align with your company somewhat, but you can still have other things that aren't related to work, obviously. So we all read a book together. And this is another book we can link into. You remember Hero and a Mission?
Yes.
So Hero and a Mission is by Donald Miller. We love everything most things that Donald Miller does. I can't say everything because I haven't been as connected with him in the last year, but the Hero and the Mission book, I think would be great for someone, a family, husband, wife, to read if you don't feel like that you have a purpose or a mission. Because it's kind of weird, but Don has set up a system where he's already written his obituary. And he reads that on a morning by morning basis to remind him on what's important to him. What does he need to accomplish today to achieve those things that he wants on his obituary?
To be remembered by. And, Casey, this is really ironic, but about maybe 15 years or so ago, I had a client of mine that was a brand new client, and his method of introducing himself to me was to send me his obituary that he had written. And it was just like Donald Miller, because that's goals. How he wanted to be remembered. And he thought that was a great way for me to learn about him and his life and what he was all about and how he focused on, his family, and that would help me understand how his family wanted to manage money. And I thought that was great, but that's the only time I've had that.
It's very different. It's very different. I think I go back to, Alexa here in the office will occasionally remind me of what I need to be doing. And I just remember I was with my son in Chicago for a really big golf tournament, and he didn't do so well. And we ended up with like an extra night there. But anyway, I had taken tons of work with me, and I remember texting her. I said, well, I'm going to plan on knocking out all these things in the next few hours if Ethan doesn't stop bothering me about going to a White Sox game. And he wanted to go to a White Sox game because the Cubs were in town. Because every time I tell that story, people go, why would you go to a White Sox game? By the way, you can sit behind home plate for $200. That was great. It's a good experience. But her response text to me was not like, okay, good. Her response was, if you were 80 years old looking back, do you wish you would have gone to the game with your son, or do you wish that you would have done the work?
Yeah, really, so Casey.
We went to the game.
Good dadding.
So but it takes a good team, right? In your work team, to remind you of the things you got to be doing. And I did get the work done later.
Yeah. See, after
I woke
game,
up
there's
early the next morning and knocked it out. Yeah. So yes, if you feel like you're struggling and you don't know what goals to set for this year or what maybe your mission and purpose is, Hero on a Mission is a great exercise to go through. We'll link that in our show notes below. And then, I've always lived my life setting goals. And one thing I'm really bad at is celebrating the goals, despite all the cake we have around here.
I was just about to say, just get a cake.
I know. Despite all the cake we have around here. I love celebrating everybody else's goals. I don't know if I celebrate my goals.
You're right.
I just kind of keep moving on, But
I think for those people that aren't normal goal setters, like, it doesn't have to be fancy or elaborate to start with. I mean, get an index card or just like a random piece of paper and just start with some basics.
Correct. I just go back to make things happen.
Thank you. Yeah.
Things happen. Stop complaining about the circumstances, or your parents did this to you and you're traumatized, or, the boss just won't recognize you, or you hate this job, or traffic's bad, or all the negative things that we can come up with as to why the world is not moving the way we want it to. The bottom line is you have to fight for that. It's not given to you.
No.
You have to go fight for it. Every success story that I know has underneath the success is rejection, hard work hours, just a lot of grit.
Yeah. It's not this golden, shiny light coming down on these people.
Correct.
That's like what you think is their life, but it's really not like that. No. Like, these people have taken the time. That's the other excuse that just does not sit well. When my kids say, "Oh, Mom, I didn't have time to do that."
Right.
You can find 15 minutes to set some goals.
Right.
Otherwise, there's really no hope.
I described it to someone like this sometimes. They were complimenting me on our firm and how they would love to have a firm like this. And I explained to him like this, it's like riding a lion. And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, from your standpoint, you're looking at me going, oh my gosh, He's built something incredible. He's riding a lion.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time I'm sitting on the lion going, oh my gosh, I'm riding a lion. Like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How do I not get eaten by this thing? Right. How do I carefully navigate that I don't get chewed up, And so that's what success feels like. In that, you're the person riding the lion, but you understand that the responsibility that comes with that and what you have to do to move forward to benefit everybody. And so it's, when you're setting goals, don't be afraid to put something crazy out there. But just because you talk about it, I hate people say, well, the universe just likes me, or the universe is taking care of me today. And that's so stupid. But the bottom line is that you can change your trajectory. You can change your destination. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to come without sacrifice.
Oh yeah.
We profiled him a couple episodes ago, or in Checkmate Hudson. Man, what a great example. He's teaching these inner city kids about how to play chess from a life movement standpoint. That make every move count. Right.
That's great. Yeah, every move.
Make every move count. Make your next move your best move. Right. All the things that he says. Which
so positive.
He's such a positive thinker and positive person, and he's helped so many kids have a different trajectory.
That's awesome.
So that's my encouragement as you're starting off this year is think positively. Think about how do you want to end the year? How do you want to change a situation in your life? Set the goal to do that, and then figure out step by step what you're going to do.
Yes.
If it's a business goal, there's going to be sacrifices. There could be lost family time. There's going to be lost friendships. There's going to be movies that you didn't get to watch, or TV series that you know nothing about. I have yet to watch one Yellowstone episode. I don't have time for that. I was out in Seattle with William, visiting with some clients, and he asked me if I was going to watch a movie on the plane. And I looked at him and I said, no. I said, I can't watch a movie without feeling guilty.
Yeah. There's too much other things out there.
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now. 10X is easier than 2X. It's all business books, right? But this is what I live for. This is what excites me, other than airplanes. But it's, you just have to decide what it is that you want to achieve. Not everyone needs to be a business owner.
No.
But even if you're a key employee or just an employee, you can still set goals of what you want to accomplish.
Every person needs goals. Like our kids have goals.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, and that's a good reminder, it's about time. I'll be sitting down with both of my children, my oldest two, and going, hey, we spent a lot of resources on golf and horses. So what are your goals this year? And let's write those down, where you want to be on 12/31. And then let's reverse that. And how are you going to accomplish that on a monthly basis, and then eventually down to the daily basis? And my oldest two, I think they're, hats off to them, but they're good at it because they do that, man. They're grinding away. Kate's out there grinding away every 3 to 5 hours a day. Man. Ethan's 3 to 4 hours a day.
Wow.
So. All right. Hope this didn't come across as a lecture. I want it to be encouraging to our listeners.
And that's the takeaway, that goals are not supposed to be punitive. They're supposed to lift you up and get you to where you want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Wiser Wealth Management or want to schedule a consultation to meet with one of our fiduciary financial advisors, you can do so by going to wiserinvestor.com, or you can click the link in the episode notes. Thanks, guys. Happy New Year. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, that way you don't miss any new episodes. We'd also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. This episode was produced and edited by Ken Hoadley. This podcast is strictly for informational purposes only and is not to be considered as investment advice or a solicitation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or any other investment vehicles, or a basis to make any financial decisions. Wiser Wealth Management Incorporated is a registered investment advisor with the SEC. The host and/or guest may personally own securities, digital assets, or other investment vehicles mentioned on this podcast. Neither the host nor guest of the show are compensated for their participation, and no referral fees are paid to or received by any host or guest for clients, listeners, or similar interests. Investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, insurance professional, and/or legal professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.